we back. Last night, my boy LeBron brought his headband out of retirement, so I figured that I would too. I'm not going to ball up like him, but, you know, we going to talk about people that are balling up. See, I be watching basketball so much that sometimes I have a hard time trying to figure out what I should talk about in videos. So the way I kind of remedy that is by asking people on Twitter to give me their questions. And that way I know for sure me talking about a certain subject is something that people want to hear. So let's just answer some of the questions. First question from 24K Phoenix says, will the Kings keep up this style of play and stay in the playoff race? Or is it just a hot start to the season and they'll be back in the lottery soon? I believe that their style of play is just who they are. I just don't think they're going to be winning as many games as they are early in the season. Because one thing you notice when you get to these super young teams, and for the most part the Sacramento Kings team is very young, is that they have their ups and downs. And I'm sure you're going to see that. But there are so many bright spots in the Sacramento Kings game right now. Like, they're literally one of my, I would say, top 3 favorite teams to watch. Actually, last night, 2 of my top 3 favorite teams went head-to-head in the Toronto Raptors and Sacramento. But all of their core pieces, or the pieces that are playing super well for them right now, are young. De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, and I would say Willie Cauley-Stein. That's their big 3 at the moment. And I ain't even mentioned Marvin Bagley, who's coming off their bench, who's looking solid. But when you have so many young players, it's hard to keep up with the consistency of winning. But the reason they are winning is because their style of play just fits their players. But I just think that they're still too early. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But you should definitely be tuning in if you've been missing out, because those guys ball, and they're actually very, very fun. Keyshawn says, which rookies have been the most surprising and disappointing so far? So I got to preface this by saying that I'm not big into college basketball. Never really have been. I just watch so much NBA and study so much NBA that I don't really have time to focus on any other leagues. That's why you never hear me talking about football or baseball or college basketball. I just don't really have time for it. But this is a year that I want to try to be invested in college hoops. So that being said, it's hard for me to have a most surprising and most disappointing, because I didn't watch them in college. Like, one of my co-hosts of my podcast, Through the Wire, which you should be watching, by the way, said that he's not surprised that Alonzo Trier is playing so well because he watched them in college and he knew that Alonzo Trier had skill. I can't say the same thing because I didn't watch Alonzo Trier. So instead of telling you who I think is the most surprising or most disappointing, I'm just going to break down who I like watching so far, or who's been pretty good. First one, Alonzo Trier. Got to give him some respect. Undrafted, and he's in a rotation in New York, and he's playing big minutes, and he's hit some big shots already in his young career. Got to respect that. Next, Wendell Carter Jr. I could make an entire video talking about Wendell Carter Jr., but one sense is that he fits what the Bulls are trying to do with this rebuild perfectly. I'm going to leave it at that. Plays defense very well, and we need that here in Chicago. And then we got Luka, of course, who's my favorite right now for Rookie of the Year. He's just been playing incredible. I think he's averaging 20 points per game, while 60% true shooting rating or something similar to that. He has been incredible. But there's been other rookies around the league that have been good. One rookie that I'm kind of sad hasn't really made the rotation is Harry Giles. I thought this was going to be a year for him to, you know, this is technically his rookie year, even though he was drafted a year ago. I was hoping he'd be in the rotation, and he's just not, which is fine because he's still super young. Maybe next year or maybe later in the season. God Shaman says, who gets traded first? John Wall, Jimmy Butler, or Terry Rozier? If I had to put my money on it, I'm going to say Terry Rozier gets traded first. Not saying that he should get traded, but that's just what I feel right now. Especially because, what is his name? Ernie Garfield, who's the general manager of the Washington Wizards, has been terrible for years upon years upon years. And for some reason, he never really realized when it's time to restart or break something up. So because of that, I don't think he's going to trade John Wall anytime soon. Secondly, Jimmy Butler's been on the trade market for 2 months, and we see them turning down trades left and right. So something tells me he's safe for a little bit. And with Terry Rozier, I feel like there are a lot of teams that could use a Terry Rozier. So because of that, they're going to throw their trades out there. Whether it be Orlando or what is this? Oh, Phoenix. There's a lot of teams out there that could use a quality point guard in Terry Rozier, and he's ready for that starting position somewhere. So I would say he gets traded first, but maybe that's me wishful thinking. Fins Up says, why do people overreact 10 games in? Examples, Lakers, Rockets, Celtics. Well, for most of us, some of us, it's our job. Like, it's my job to talk about basketball. Can you imagine if I had to wait 20 games into the season to tell you that the Wizards suck? I wouldn't have anything to talk about. I literally would not be able to make videos if I didn't overreact in some sense. Now, my form of overreaction may be different than others because I try to break down exactly why. Like, when I talk about the Celtics, yeah, they're struggling offensively, but I don't think it's going to last. So am I overreacting by telling you that they suck on offense right now? No, I think that's just a fact. They suck on offense. They'll probably get it together. Same thing with the Rockets. I don't think anybody's looking at this Rockets team like, oh, they're not making the playoffs. So when you talk about overreacting, I don't think a lot of us are overreacting. I just think we're using what we have to come to some form of conclusions, if that makes any sense. Gross LA says, could the Nuggets have a 2015 Warrior season, basically bursting onto the scene and exceeding expectations to set up a future of deep playoff runs and dominance? Sure, they could. One thing that 2015 team did was win a championship, I'm pretty sure. I think that was the year they won a championship. The Nuggets are not winning the championship this year. But they definitely could use this season as the stepping stone to their future, because a lot of people don't really realize this, but their core pieces, Gary Harris, Jamaal Murray, Jokic, are super young still. They're super young. I mean, I know they barely missed the playoffs 2 years in a row, but this team is still super young. I think Jamaal Murray is just 21. I think Jokic is 23, 24. They got a long time to be together right now, especially with Jokic getting that extension. Can we take this time to talk about Jokic right now? Listen, Jokic. You have the offensive tools to average 22 at least. There is no reason for you to attempt one shot in the game. Last night against Memphis, he attempted one shot. Last two nights combined, last two games combined, 5 shots? We're talking about a guy that could be the number 2, number 3 center in the league. But instead of showing how good he is in scoring the ball, he's too passive. It's frustrating to watch, because I watched that entire Memphis Grizzlies game, and the Grizzlies did a great job defending him. But nobody on the team could really defend him if he wanted to get him a bucket. And then his last shot, his one shot of the game, was the last shot of the game. He hadn't attempted a shot the whole night, which means that he was cold. He ain't getting no rhythm. Instead of getting the game-winning shot to somebody like Jamaal Murray, who's having a good night, he took the game winner and he missed it. It's weird. It's weird for somebody to be so good and not. Listen, somebody commented on my Twitter saying, it's selfish for you to be that good and for you to be Let me read you the exact tweet, because I don't know. It was fire. He really broke it down. This is crazy, because it was the same guy that asked this question about the Nuggets to comment under my tweet about Jokic. He said, it's selfish not to be selfish when you're that good. And that is a fact. He's super talented. There's no reason for him to take in one shot. Can you imagine if LeBron, with all his talents, like, you know what? This game, I'm going to shoot it once. Oh, the world would explode. Well, at least the NBA Twitter, TV, they'd all explode. Jokic has all the tools to be averaging maybe even 25. I said 22 to be safe. He could be probably averaging 25 if he scored the ball more. But whatever. We're going to move on to the next question. Pinhead Larry says, do you think Jamaal Murray was in the wrong for chasing 50 at the end of the game? Pinhead Larry, I'm going to show you a clip of my podcast Through the Wire.
And then he tried to take the last shot.
He wanted his 50, which I don't blame him.
I don't blame him.
I would have took that same shot.
You know, I would got a better one. I got a better shot.
That's what I'm about to say. They lucky it wasn't me, because I would have just laid
If you had a problem with it, stop him from getting the 48, and then he won't have to take that last second shot. Now, if you want to watch the full version of that, link will be in the description. Just dropped last night. Eric says, if the Raptors happen to trade for Jimmy, would they be the consensus favorite to win the East or even the NBA title? I think the Raptors will be crazy to trade for Jimmy Butler right now. They're playing amazing. There's literally no reason to make any changes to this roster. And can you imagine trading some core pieces? Maybe it's Fred VanVleet. I don't know. Who else would the Timberwolves want? Regardless, you trade your core pieces and then Jimmy Butler doesn't re-sign. You're already taking a chance once with Kawhi Leonard. So you don't want to have two of your best players, both enter free agency at the same time without having any restrictions on them. So I think they'd be crazy to trade for Jimmy Butler. I hope that's not what they think. I just think they need right now, they're the best team in the East. And if you ask me, they're the biggest threat to the Warriors at this moment. There's no reason to make no changes. Jack says Trae Young is better than Mike Conley, Kyrie, and Dragic. Check the statistics. Jack, I'm not going to check the statistics, brother. Something tells me you're talking about points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game. Honestly, Any statistic you can find, if it says he's better, that's an example of stats lying. Promise you, rookie Trae Young is not better than Mike Conley right now. He's not better than Kyrie right now, and he's not better than Goran Dragic right now. Chill. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please leave it a like. Right now, I'm trying to body September. Like, try to upload as many videos as possible in this month. So if there's anything you'd like to hear me talk about specifically or something you want to see me do on 2K, let me know in the comment section. I'll try my best to pick some of my favorites. Thank y'all so much. Link in the description to Through the Wire. Go watch that. Go leave it a like and comment Team No Overtime. I'm going to be over there in the comment section as well talking to y'all. Thank y'all so much. Peace. I've been one of Russell Westbrook's biggest criticizers throughout his career because though he's a very talented player, he's frustrating to watch sometimes because of his decision making. Yes. And we saw that in the game against the Celtics. But since then, he has been amazing. Last night, I think he had 7 turnovers, but that's okay because they still got the dub. But like those games leading up, he had been like a perfect facilitator. He wasn't shooting threes anymore because he had been struggling. So far this year, he's been very good.